Hi, good day, Sarah. How are you?
Hello, I'm okay. Like we were talking about earlier, it feels strange to say I'm okay. But yes, how are you?
Yeah, okay it feels like okay has a new meaning this week.
Yeah,
It comes with more heaviness. I think I also say I'm okay just because I don't have the capacity in me to express how I'm feeling.
yes,
Yeah, but like overall, I can tell from myself like just how bad my sleep is for the past few days and how difficult it is for me to get out of bed every morning. Like today, I think I was in bed until like it was past 11 and I
hmm,
barely got out. I just want to sleep for days basically. And that's how I know that I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders and
yeah,
everything just feels heavy.
yes. I hard to relate with that. I think in the last 2 days I've been able to get out of bed somewhat normally, and I'm using air quotes here. But the days before that, the weeks before that, it's been a struggle to get out of bed at a more reasonable time that gives me, I don't know, the space to start my day 15
Yeah.
minutes before actually
Yeah.
having a commitment.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I definitely also, I whenever I speak to you, I always feel like we are experiencing kind of the same things, just on different parts of the world. Because like usually when I wake up, I don't like I stay off my phone for at least like 45 minutes to an hour. Whereas the past couple of weeks, what I will do is I will stay in bed and then just immediately get my phone and start scrolling. And then I
Yeah.
just the time for me is gone because then the day is started and I have obligations and I need to go on meetings and meet people and do this and that. And I was just I quote myself at least that's progress as well. I quote myself
Mhm.
doing it and now I'm kind of trying to be really really intentional with how I wake up and how I spend the first couple like 30 or minutes or an hour when I wake up so that it's more kind of relaxed and intentional without me immediately giving my attention to the news to whatever is happening because then I start my day just jittery and anxious and I just want to go back to bed.
Yes. And someone else has had like the first attention of your day and
Yeah,
not
yeah,
yourself.
yeah,
I
exactly.
think a lot about that in the morning. Like, don't open that message. Like, you should have your attention first than anyone else. It doesn't always work like that, but yeah, it's a reminder that I tell myself.
Yeah, exactly. And I think um, when I first started doing this, because before I really sucked at self care basically, and that's what this is self care.
Mhm.
I would like I would wake up and I would immediately open my laptop and start working and check what my managers have written, what I have to do for the day, etc., etc. So I was on the go even before I wake up. I don't know if you've ever experienced kind of waking up in the middle of the night that when you go to the toilet and your brain is already up and active and thinking. It's like
Yes.
4 a.m. and you need to go back to sleep and you're like shh shush.
Yeah.
We still need a couple of hours of sleep before all of this starts.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I had real trouble disconnecting basically from work, from everything, and I never had I didn't cultivate the time to take care of myself. And then when I started, I was really really harsh on myself
Mm.
when I couldn't kind of do it, right? Like when I had a like bad day or something and I would want I want to stay in bed for longer or like go to Insta and look at stories or scroll and or watch a YouTube video. I will be really judgmental to myself because that's not
Mm.
what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah. I I do that too. It's a question that I've had in my mind for a long time. Sometimes I feel like I'm closer to the answer. Other times I feel like I'm even further away from it. But it is like, I know, I know that to be the person that I want to be, I need to be more rested. I need to have a calmer lifestyle, and I want to have all of these boundaries that are really important. But at the same time, I'm always wondering, like, am I pushing too far? Am I
Mm-hmm.
now like on the other side of the
Yeah.
spectrum? And it's hard. It's really hard to know that, and because you never know what it's actually self-reflection and realizing, yeah, okay, so now you didn't have to stay in bed until 11. You could have waken up a little bit earlier. That's okay. Don't do it next time if you can. Or if it's just the messages that we've got from our entire life saying that you're lazy and that sleeping is a waste of time, and
Yeah.
oh, and so it's like, when do I know if it's real or if it's a message that I don't want to subscribe to? And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is, I think that's a really good way to describe it and way to reflect on it, because I have that kind of internal discussion between things that, like, when I'm, so like, a real life example that's currently happening is I'm
Mm,
supposed to be writing my master thesis this semester. I'm really struggling with it.
mm.
And I'm thinking, like, I get excited when I think I could just postpone it to next year. And then I feel relief because I don't have to do it now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so my kind of internal battle comes from, is that what I really want, or is that my way of self sabotaging and just
Mm,
procrastinating on doing the thing that I need to be doing at this time, or do I really don't have the headspace to do this now? Like,
mm.
especially with everything that's going on, and as I said, like, I really, I feel like I have just assembled myself back together after these intense 2 years with everything that was going on in the world and in my life personally as well. I just pieced myself together. And now this Ukraine Russia thing, I already feel like I don't have I don't have the capability
Yeah.
to do it again in this short time period. And then those big obligations like finishing your master thesis feel too huge for me to accomplish. But at the same time, it's like, am I am I doing it just because it's easier and because I have like a default way of procrastinating on things? And at the same time, like, it's almost like on three levels, because then you get this societal thing, um, the story as well, which is, oh, she's like avoiding the task again, or she's prolonging her studies, or whatever, and then you get like those um lazy or unsuccessful or like can't get the task done labels put
Yeah.
on you. And there's so many things to kind of try and piece together, or rather, um not pieces, but opposite of piece
Yes.
together. Yeah, kind of dissect them and be like, what is it that I actually need? Like, if you, if I'm trying to mute everything that's from the coming from the outside, and then I'm also trying to mute my brain because I know that's the procrastinating part, and
Mm,
then just try to tap into myself and be like, what do I need? Like, do I really have the capability to do this? And if I do, will I be like burnt out by mid June, early July? Because I know what it takes for me to write something like that. I'm Even when I subtract the perfectionistic and overachieving tendencies,
mm.
it's still a big task, and I'm still holding myself to a certain standard, right? So
Yeah.
it's like I have no idea what to do. So it's like all of that overwhelming anxiety are just too much.
Too much. It does sound like too much. Yes.
And I think,
Mm.
yeah, and I feel like, and kind of the reason why I'm saying this and all kind of articulating is because I think that a lot of the times we are made to feel that saying that makes us weak, or even thinking about it makes us weak, like, oh, I'm giving up. Whereas I'm trying to gauge just how much of energy I have in me to accomplish certain things that are happening in my life for the next couple
Yeah.
of months. And I think the society glorifies too much productivity and hustle and getting stuff done to a certain degree,
Yeah.
that in these times, like, I don't understand how anyone can kind of just continue living their life and work like nothing's happening, where in reality so many so many things are happening, and I think it's unrealistic to say that it doesn't affect us, because it does. Like, you still have the weight of war in your thoughts. No one knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, next day it could be, like the whole Europe will shut down, and that's something that we are living in the back of our minds.
Yes. I'm with you. I struggle a lot to just keep going uh, and ignore everything. I'm like that in general.
Yeah.
And specifically in this case now, it's um, yeah, it does feel. I think it's on top of feeling sad and frustrated and rage,
Yeah.
which I can feel in other situations, other disasters, other wars.
Mm,
I think now on top of that is fear,
mm,
which, because things were happening far away from home,
yeah.
I I didn't fear for my own safety,
Yeah.
but now I fear for my safety and the safety of the people around me.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm in Portugal. I'm quite far away from Russia and from Ukraine. But at the same time, Europe is this small, and so yes, I've been feeling scared in the last weeks, and I don't know how to just keep going
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is
I don't
difficult.
have answers.
No,
Answers.
I don't. I'm not sure anyone really does. Like, um, 10 days ago, I finally booked airplane tickets to Sydney because Australia opened their borders, and I've been waiting for this for more than 2 years, or rather, to see my family after 5 years.
Hmm.
And 10 days ago, I thought finally a carefree journey where I'll be able to relax, to recharge my batteries. I'll see my family. To be amazing. And like a couple of days after that, all of this started to happen. And immediately I went from feeling really enthusiastic and excited about traveling to feeling really anxious because I'm traveling alone. My partner, my family is still staying here. I have no idea. Um, like, I'm traveling next Wednesday. I still don't know, will I be able to fly? Like, so many things could happen in the next 6 days, and what will be the kind of the environment when I come back in month and a half time.
Yeah,
So all of that anxiety and all of those kind of ups and downs that I feel everyone was having, right? Like, everyone, even though we're still at least I'm hoping, being really responsible with COVID, it's still kind of slowing down a bit, or rather, it's getting milder, and governments are, for better or for worse, easing the restrictions. So kind of that weight started to lift off a bit,
yeah,
and then we started feeling more hopeful as a result. And then as we built up that hope and positivity, enthusiasm for finally kind of getting our lives back, like this happens, and then I just
yeah,
feel like those like the roller coaster of being the up and down is something that's really, really, really heavy. And then we're constantly reminded that we don't have any control in our hands.
Yeah.
And that's something that I
Yeah.
really, really struggle with day to day.
Yes. I had a similar experience. The day the war started, I got COVID, or I
Oh,
tested positive. So it was both things happened in the same day. And
God.
so I was obviously worried that I was ill, but at the same time, I have this feeling of like, okay, I'm strong enough, this will be fine. And
Yeah.
then I'll have at least some natural immunity and I will be a bit more, because it's been quite hard for me, quite difficult with all the restrictions in my head more than the outside restrictions than anything else. And so I was like, okay, so this can be a good thing. And then the war
Mm.
starts, and I'm like, I really like, can we have a break, please?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard. So yeah, I hope anyone listening feels like if they are struggling just to keep going, that it's normal and
Yeah.
they don't have any flaw for feeling that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what, yeah, I'm inviting everyone to be gentle and kind to themselves,
Yeah.
because what we're going through, it's surreal. It's just like these past 2 years have been completely upside down and heavy, and nothing like our generation at least went through. Like I'm born just towards the end of the war when Croatia was fighting for their independence.
Mm-hmm.
So even like my partner has kind of he was like a small child when the war was still going. So for kind of my geographical region, feel kind of the weight of war is not new, but at the same time, like it's not um, it's not something that's necessarily bigger or smaller than what we are feeling now.
Mm-hmm.
I know a couple of people always like there's always some people saying, "Oh, I've had it worse," or "Things were worse back in my day." But I don't think that's kind of it's like comparing apples with oranges. There's if a person is struggling, it it
Suffering
doesn't
is suffering. It doesn't
suffering.
matter where and when. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Suffering is suffering. So yeah, I'm just hoping that, yeah, as you said, like everyone listening can just feel be really gentle and kind to themselves. And if you need to sleep until 11 like I need like I did for a week or whatever, and share with anyone, with your loved ones, with your friends, with your partner, how you're dealing. Ask for more hugs and kisses if you can, or whatever you need, for more affection, because it is a heavy world to be
Yeah.
in now. Um, uh, I have so to kind of I'm interested because you're a learning designer, and I'm curious whether you, as a learning designer and a community host of Learning Day, um, and a host of the weekly reflection sessions, did you notice the experience of facilitating a space such as the weekly reflection sessions kind of help people more to go through all of these emotions in the past like 2 weeks?
I think it's been not long enough to tell you about the last 2 weeks,
Hmm.
but I can tell you from the last 2 years, uh, because it's a different shock and it's a different happening. But the uncertainty, the worry, the uh, need to adapt to something that we don't even know what it is,
Yeah.
that happened, uh, has already happened very recently.
Yeah.
And there I can say with absolute certain that yes, it's been an incredible space and you have been a part of it a few times, where it is okay to say like you don't know, it's okay to feel, it's okay to slow down and kind of escape the washing machine of life that I feel we're all in at certain points. And particularly when you're feeling all of these feelings and you need to keep going because life is still happening, it's very disorienting to not have a place to stop. And I don't think many of us have that kind of getaway, like, okay, I'm parking here for a little bit and then I'll go back in, and I'll park here for a little bit. And so I think the weekly reflection sessions have been that space for 2 years.
Wow, has it already been 2 years?
Yes.
Wow, how time flies.
Well, for the sessions, 1 year and a half. I'm thinking bigger with learning day, but the sessions a year and a half almost.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, like I've been for quite some time. The weekly reflection sessions have been my getaway, where I just would tune out everything else but just the space that you were facilitating, and it was time for me being still with my thoughts. And I still have I actually had a notebook just next to me still, and what I'm finding, because I haven't attended for a couple of weeks, months now, and it's mostly because I feel this, like, it feels like a limbo sometimes of you knowing when something is good for you, but you're not, like, you still need some energy, like some spark to start doing that, whether it's weekly reflection sessions, whether it's therapy, whether it's starting to work out, like all of these things. Like I feel like if I have 100 points of energy for any given day, it's like you and I have like coupons of 10, so I have 10 coupons in total. And every single thing that I do, I give a coupon, and for some I need to give one, for some I need to give three. And sometimes, like, it's sometimes I wake up with 60 points, not 100, and then all of that kind of takes the coupons, takes energy away from me, even though I know how much better I feel after attending a weekly reflection session, like especially the evening ones, those, because they are, for anyone listening, they are on Thursdays, morning, afternoon, and evening. And I will usually go in the evening ones because I feel like I would already kind of close down on my week. I will reflect on what I just had, the kind of the past 4 days, and then by Friday you feel like it's the weekend already because you close down your week on Thursday evening. But recently,
but it does take some energy. I
because
understand that.
Sometimes, like, even turning on the camera feels like 100 points. Like there are some days where just kind of being there takes so much of my energy, where I just don't have it in me to show up. Today this was hard as well because I just woke up with a feeling of I just want to crawl back to bed and sleep until Monday, basically. But then I reminded myself, I am having these podcasts so that I can show to people that it's okay to show up even however you feel. Like I barely put on this shirt. My hair is a mess. I have like black eyes until by half of my nose, and I'm not as energetic as I usually am. But I'm showing up as myself, and I'm showing up with as much as energy as I can give to you in this moment. And I think that's something that I want to kind of show across. Not that people need to show up when they're tired and exhausted, but just that it's okay to feel tired and exhausted, and there's nothing wrong with it. I'm
Yes.
choosing to be here with you, knowing that I will still feel better after our conversation than how I felt when we started it. So
Yeah. Yeah. We had this conversation before today where I was feeling like, okay, I have COVID. I I'm tired. I'm in the middle or at the end of a really big project that I was considering canceling. We talked about this. And then you told me um, it's okay if you need to do that, but it's also called real and raw for a reason. and um, and and that's it. And I thought, yes, exactly. Like it doesn't feel like a burden to have a conversation with Franca. That is not a burden. The burden I was putting on myself was like performing, being perfect,
yeah,
preparing,
yeah,
asking for questions so that I could be 100% sure of what I was going to do.
yeah,
That was the burden.
yeah,
Showing up was not the burden.
yeah,
And so here we are with no preparation.
yeah. I mean, that's the kind of how almost any conversation I have goes, because as I said, it's like meeting me for coffee and just chatting
Yeah.
over coffee about what's happening or things that both you and I are going through or have passionate about, and it's it's there because I think like so much of the things we see online is scripted, and unsetting expectations is my counter medicine to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think because like everything is scripted, everyone shows up with a filter, everyone shows up with a mask, and we're just kind of, it feels like we are already living in a metaverse kind
Yeah.
of.
It's true. It's true. It's not that far. We
It's
just
really
don't
not that
have
far.
avatars. But
Yeah,
apart from that, yeah.
yeah, it's already like we're showing up as completely different people than who we are, and that's because uh, someone one day decided that that's better because it earns them more status or more followers or more money or whatever. And I'm just, I remember kind of being left standing like this time a year ago and thinking, like, who is showing up as a human being? Like,
Yeah.
where do I find human beings? Because I was thinking to myself, like, so almost the only place where people share conversations like these is like on communities on Reddit, for example, where you are also kind of hiding behind username and an avatar. And people are doing that because for such a long time, conversations like these were thought of having no value, or me
Yeah.
saying I'm having trouble doing something or finishing something being labeled as weak, that I feel shame about, or rather, I felt shame in previous
Yeah.
times about it. Now I know that it's completely okay and completely normal, but so many other people don't. And yeah,
Yeah.
my kind of intention with this entire project is just to raise that awareness that every experience as a human being is a normal experience.
Yes.
Yes,
And
and
I
I
think that
think that
now I'm
now I'm
hearing
hearing
myself.
myself.
I don't know if something changed on your side.
No, let me try and reset the audio quickly.
Hello, hello. Okay, I don't hear myself. And now I do.
Wait, can you try now?
Hello.
Is it better?
Yes, it is better.
Okay.
Yes, it's perfect. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. You're welcome.
I think what you're saying is also the experience that I have with the weekly reflection sessions, but in a smaller scale.
Hmm.
So, and in a more private space.
Yeah,
Uh, I think the Unsettling Expectations project is great. It's kind of doing that at a bigger scale. It's like, look, and set all your expectations. These
yeah,
these are real people. Okay, what
Yeah.
you're seeing out there might not be real. Um, and I think we do the same in a smaller scale in the sessions where I hope people feel that they are safe to share what they are learning and what they are experiencing without any judgment.
Mm.
And I've intentionally designed the space in that way, um, so that you're there to share from your perspective, from the I, and you're there to hold space for others and listen. You're not there to give advice. You're not there. That happens naturally, but with that basis, then those rules
Yeah.
that you know that it's your perspective, it's not a space to tell people what to do.
Yeah.
um, and so it's we've had moments of really beautiful happy sharing, but also sad dark sharing, and all of that, those are two ends to a spectrum. There's
Mm.
all in the between, and all of that is human experience. And
Yeah.
so it shouldn't be a space just for happy happy or sad sad. It's all of it is human. um, and yeah, I'm happy that spaces like this exist
Me
on the
too.
web and
Yeah.
in real life. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, and I hope even more people um,
Yes.
reach both your community and this one,
Yes.
because I think we really need a place of kind of nurturing, showing up as yourself, because I would like this, like it feels weird, doesn't it, where you need a special place to show up as yourself because you can't freely do that in the outside world. And that's something that makes me really sad and something that I hope with projects and kind of um, impact that we both want, that we will change one day, because there's too much kind of almost, I don't know, disengagement from self, where um where it's hard for people to be 100% themselves, that to everyone. And I'm not saying that you need to be 100% open and share all of your secrets and not have any privacy. That's a completely different thing. But it's about giving the maximum of yourself as you are to the world, and not kind of having to moderate any
Yeah.
pieces and or intentionally hide them just because you don't feel like being, like greeted.
Yeah.
um and
I
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to add to that that I think there's a previous step to that, which is knowing yourself and
Mm,
knowing who is this person that I'm showing to the world.
yeah.
Because if you've never thought about it in that way, if you're only following the script that someone
Mm,
else wrote for you, you don't know. So
yeah.
you may not even realize that you're not showing up as yourself because you don't know who that is.
Yeah, that's true.
And so there's this step of self-reflection that is essential for me. Learning about yourself, that's the only way you can learn about others and the world. And that's another beautiful thing that happens in the learning community. I've had people um, specifically tell me, I've learned so much about myself. I never
Mm,
thought about myself in this way. um, Positive, but also things that are a bit harder to face.
mm,
I can think of a specific example of someone who said, yes, I'm a terrible people pleaser, and I never realized that. And it's after
mm,
all of these months that I'm realizing that. I'm realizing that I'm not showing up in my full power, that I'm always neglecting myself in the favor of other people. And that's hard, but
yeah.
important to
Yeah,
recognize.
it is. And it's really um I'm scrolling through the notebook because I know how, with the questions that you kind of design and intentionally put there, especially if you write them like on a single, like in a single space, whether it's digital or physical, like a notebook, you can see later on reading patterns forming, and you're getting to know yourself better. And I know that for a lot of the things, what the reflection sessions helped for me mostly was, like it was tapping into my own emotions. And I'll just like, I'm going to read two questions from, okay, so this is dated January 14th of 2021, so last year. And the first question is, what did I say yes and no to this week? And then the second question is, how did that feel? Which is something I would never reflect on myself. Like, how did that feel? So I will probably get to the yes and no's because it's something that's kind of on my calendar. But with this, how did that feel? You're going a step deeper because now I'm not only thinking about which things I accomplished or didn't accomplish this week. The yes and no get a new meaning, which is what, like, it's more, oh sorry, it taps into the day-to-day communication. Or did I compromise my boundaries or my values in some way? Like, did I say no to myself as well, not just someone else? And then tapping into, like, as I said, like, with how did that feel question, like, your it's almost like going through a funnel where you're kind of niching down and just like focusing on yourself and your emotions from within. And that's incredibly powerful, especially when done through a long period of time.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. I know I wrote it, but no, yeah, that's. Let me take that to talk about something you mentioned earlier as well.
Yeah.
It's, as you said, like you have this project and you show up. Is it every week or every month?
And these interviews
Say yes,
every week.
every week. So you have this on your calendar and you have a commitment to the world, to yourself, that
Yeah.
every week you're going to be there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel great to do it every week. Sometimes you're a bit like, oh, I don't want to do this, and I'm tired, and what the hell am I going to ask people? And what's the music? Nothing is right. I want to sleep in. I have, like all of these things, right? It's normal.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
normal.
Yep.
But I think that this is for anyone thinking, oh, I could start something, but then I need to show up every week. It's not a bug, it's a feature. It's you need to show up every week to yourself, for yourself. And it's even when it doesn't feel like jumping up and down because you have a session or you have a podcast or you have something to record or do. For me, it has helped me develop so much persistence, consistency, ability to ask for help, that I don't think any other project, or I'm sure any other project in my life has. And so it has that, I think, positive impact to be able to show up even if you're not like at your best.
Yeah.
And I thought about it now when you mentioned the questions, because sometimes I just feel like I don't know what I'm going to ask. And sometimes the question is not very good. And sometimes I just copy a question from another week. And it's okay, because in the end, the question is important, but it's so much more the person on the other screen taking those 20 minutes to sit there and write about whatever needs to emerge will emerge, whatever the question is.
Yeah.
And so linking back to our topic for today of perfectionism, it's also understanding that no matter how perfect you think something is, trust that the other person on the other side will also know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Uh, they will are also responsible for their experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's 100% true. And I had the same experience, like, or I have the same experience every time I'm writing an article and
Mm.
then posting it, because I, like, as I said, like, I can always over edit, right? There's, you read, you write the article and then you read it for the first time, for the second time, for the third time, and by the fifth time you hate it.
Yeah.
It was really good when you wrote it, but then you start overthinking and deleting things and sentences and whatever, and then it's like, this is not good, and then like you, like, even though you produce something, you end up like sometimes not posting it, or thinking, or just like kind of keeping it aside because it's not good enough. Whereas when I started writing Unsettling Expectations, I had a goal for myself, which was, because I always write everything first in the notebook,
Mm.
I don't leave the pen of the paper, like, so that I don't interrupt my own thoughts. Like, as they're coming, I'm just writing them. If I stop, like, the kind of the consequences, my, because I write with a marker, everything becomes black around that
Yeah.
spot.
Good
So I,
hack.
yeah. So, and then I try, like, it's like almost like a video game, right? So I can't think for too long, because otherwise, like, I have like 5 pages below full of black ink, and that helps me, because as soon as I kind of finish writing, when my thoughts dry up, I just type it to the on the PC, and I post and publish. Like, there's no thinking involved. I don't edit things, because I know that it's going to stop me
Mm.
from every publishing anything ever. And I have felt extremely cringy a lot of the times, extremely dissatisfied with what I wrote for so many times. But I don't think there was ever an article for which I didn't receive at least one email reply or an Instagram message or
Mm.
something, saying how it inspired someone, or changed the way they thought about something, or had any type of like a change sparked in the reader. And that's exactly when I realized that, even though I think that something was, like, not right, or not meant to be, or in the wrong time, it's always also about the experience of the person, in this case reading it, and how they appropriate whatever I wrote. And it's same with these questions. Like, as you said, like, you may think that the question is stupid, but it could have come for me in the exact time when I needed it. And even though kind of the meaning that you think the question has can differ from the meaning I appropriated from the question,
Yes.
because, as you said, like, whatever needs to emerge will emerge. So our brains will literally read the words and appropriate them to whatever fits us in the specific situation. So, yeah, kind of, it's a good way to think almost about perfectionism, is that everyone's scales are different, and everyone is in a different stage of their journey. So whether something is good or not good doesn't necessarily make any sense to even ponder about,
Mm.
because it's not about it at, at all.
Yeah. Yes. And that can feel uncomfortable, because it means like whatever you do, you
Yeah,
can't control anything, or it can feel freeing.
yeah, yeah,
And I go between the two. There are days where I feel like I just
yeah,
want my beautiful spreadsheets to with the timings for every session that I facilitate to just go exactly like that.
yeah,
And then there are other days when I'm like, you know what? this is going somewhere. I don't know where. This is great.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
I think.
this
Yeah.
second like with this was a really long process. So for me, it's really important to say it for anyone listening, even in conversations with friends. I can see how much of a long way I've come since I
Mhm.
started really working on this. It wasn't just like done. Now I can do it.
Yeah.
Some days I can, some days I can't. And when I can, it was a really long process.
Yeah.
And it still takes a lot of energy coupons, like you said,
Yeah.
to do it, even in a good day.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, your reminder that it takes work, it's worth it, but it's not
It,
spontaneous yet,
it's not
I hope.
spontaneous. Yeah, it's a long way. Yeah, I'm exactly the same, and I think you really hit the nail on its head. On its head, is that the expression?
It
um,
hit the nail on the head, I think, yes.
yeah. uh, with tying perfectionism with control, and rather having things in control, because that's what it often is. Like, we are, as perfectionists, very often like very rigid and very process based and outcome, like goals oriented and outcome based. That I like, even even though I would think of myself as a creative person, perfectionism diminishes it, because
Hmm.
I become so almost like robotic in fulfilling everything that I planned, that there I like it's very hard for creativity to come into and burst into, because I don't give it enough space and I don't give it enough freedom, because I kind of obsess over this idea that it needs to be perfect and I need to know what I'm doing. Where in reality, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I have no idea where Unsettling Expectations will be by the end of this year. I'm practicing, I'm exercising, believing that it will become whatever it needs to become, without me constantly micromanaging the
Yes. That's a good expression, because I think for a really long time I would think like, yeah, letting things flow, what does that mean? Like, things only happen if we do things. And it's there's still truth to that, obviously,
yeah,
but it's micromanaging versus managing, or
yeah,
versus being a leader, whatever.
yeah, yeah,
It's like you have a vision, you are taking the steps towards that vision, but
yeah,
don't micromanage the project,
yeah,
because project needs time to breathe and to go to the toilet if they need a
yeah,
break.
exactly.
And so it's like, that's a really good expression.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't think of it until. That's why I love these conversations, because I also have, like, wow,
Yeah.
situations and things and thoughts when I speak, and that wouldn't come up out otherwise, because even though I speak to myself, it's not the same. It's not. Um, but yeah, wait, I had a thought about um um how, like, even the idea of, and so I know that the weekly reflection sessions began basically as an experiment, and I love that kind of framing everything as an experiment, because it kind of takes the expectations down, because
Mhm.
you're not committing, you're not, I mean, you are committing to the experiment, you're not committing to becoming a successful whatever it is, right? It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, let's see how this experiment goes, and then it takes a lot of weight off, because usually I don't know if anyone who listens or if you feel a similar way, but whenever I start something, it of course it always feels very light in the beginning, because you're excited for the idea, enthusiastic about it, but like within the week I will put so much heaviness onto it, because I will think of all of the things that need to be done, or I will expand it and the scope becomes bigger and everything becomes heavier, and then it's like I feel like, or I'm suffocating myself.
Yeah.
Where in reality it doesn't like it can't continue to be light. It just those kind of standards and ideas of expectations and what I need to succeed just float into my brain without me even knowing them. And then thinking about everything as an experiment takes all of that off, because the idea of the experiment is just to see how things go and then see, analyze the data and
Yeah.
continue on and iterate, and you just iterate the process. And that way of thinking is something that really helped me in my own day to day, to kind of, yeah, be less judgmental and less focused, kind of not focused, less obsessed about how things are going.
Yeah.
Because I remind myself, it's just an experiment. Let's see how things are going. The
Yeah.
data will show me how things are going. I don't need to obsess over it every single day, every single minute.
Yeah. Yes, it was. I knew that for me to get this idea out of the paper, I had to do it,
Mm-hmm.
not think about it. And so it was one day I decided, I think it was on a Tuesday, I posted on LinkedIn and Instagram saying I'm doing this. And then on Thursday, I did it. It was very, very short. And 26 people showed up during the day. And I was like, what? I thought I was going to be alone on a Zoom call for this. And after that, I did it every week. And so imagine, picture this. I would be obsessing about it, trying to define every single detail of what I was doing it, created that burden that I also feel that I put on myself. I would have never taken out of the paper. We would not be here today.
Mm. Yeah.
And just because it was an experiment and it was light and fun and it just happened, I was still nervous. I still get nervous sometimes, but it's like I did it.
Yeah.
And after that, it was a cycle.
Yeah.
And I think I already know this, but I think it confirms every day, I guess. This is how I learn as well. I learn to experience and with interaction with other people.
Mm.
We all have different learning styles, but that's mine. I things need to be in the world, interacting with the world. Otherwise, it's just concepts flowing in my head. And so these experiments and trying things out, for me, it's what keeps me alive and happy and with a meaningful life, which is learning. And so I, yeah, although the tendency is a different one, I don't think I could do it any other way.
Yeah. I need to have a lot of self-reflection question before I forget.
Yeah.
Are you hosting the reflection session immediately after we're done?
Yes. Yes.
Good.
So
Okay,
half an
amazing.
hour after we finish, you can sign up and join.
Yes, please. And as yeah, I really recommend to anyone listening, in whatever time, either now live or after, on YouTube or on the podcast, please sign up at least for once, and you'll not regret it.
Try it out. Yes.
Try it out. Yeah. I'm asking because what you've said now is kind of it got me thinking how I think I have tried to steer away intentionally, wrongfully, I think will be a better word, from my learning style, because I thought it's not right. It's not how it should be. I feel like, and it's something that I've been, this is really, okay, so thank you for saying that, because now I think I'm going to also learn something about myself that's really important, which is, like for a long time, I know that I was most fulfilled when I was it was my first and second year of uni. So basically, I love when I'm learning a lot of different things at once, and I love when I'm kind of sharing that knowledge with others and going with others through those experiences. So I was creating a lot, I was leading a lot of projects through which I was learning, and I was like surrounded with different people but with the same kind of like similar mindset. Like we all could, even though like we never met before, especially like when you go to a conference or something, you never met those people before, but you feel like you know them for your entire life because everyone is on the same
Yeah.
page. And that's when I felt most fulfilled and when I had most energy to myself. Possibly because I was also younger than I am now, but yeah, I that was the time when I feel like I was, like I was most myself than I ever was. And then for the years that came afterwards, because I got kind of signals from society that I'm doing too much, I'm taking too many responsibilities, which didn't feel like responsibilities for me. Like me having my uni and having the projects and like learning a foreign language and doing salsa classes, all of that was fun for me. It energized me. But I was kind of attacked by so many outside signals
Yeah.
that that's not meant to be that way and that I'm not doing it right. So I kind of toned everything down. And I think that was one of the really key things, big things that led to me being like mildly to seriously depressed in the last couple of years, because it felt like I kind of got further away from my true self in this context
Yeah.
of how I learned the best, because I think learning is a huge part of being a human being. We learn every single day, right? So
Yeah.
if you learn, or like I love learning by reading. My partner likes learning by watching videos. That's how he remembers things best. So everything is completely different from person to person. And I think that now, kind of reflecting back on this, me realizing that I just need to kind of go back and kind of write down, okay, so what is my learning style and how do I incorporate that as much as I can in my day-to-day life, and just stay true to that, remind myself, not this kind of like this style doesn't feel right for me. I know how I learn best, and be completely unapologetic about it is something that's going to kind of even propel me forward more, because I will be more in sync and aligned with myself.
Yes. I'm glad you're having that reflection. And yeah, I think that that's one thing about my learning style that I still struggle with, which is maybe because of perfectionism as well. I want to, every time I read something, I always feel like there's holes to fill, right?
Mm,
And I feel like, because I want to understand everything, and so I'm like,
yep,
and I never fill all the holes. Obviously, I am not
yep,
the internet, so I
yep,
can't process everything.
yep,
Uh, and
yep.
so I always feel somehow incomplete when I learn
Mm,
something.
mm-hmm.
And it's about, or when I read or interact with content that's not necessarily learning, I and so I need to remind myself sometimes that it's okay, because then when I talk about that with someone, the holes will start to close, because
Yeah,
pieces will start fitting together.
yep,
And that's the second part I need to do. And so the learning is not complete until it interacts with the world,
yeah,
and until I put it into practice. And so this
yeah,
first bit is not learning. So
yeah.
uh so yeah,
But do you so I see some similarities with myself, whereas like I was always the type of person when like if you gave me like a finished math formula, I needed to
Mm.
understand the entire like theorem behind it and how you end
Mm.
up with that specific formula in order for me to remember it and understand it. But so but do, how do you come, or do you feel the fear when you first start talking about something you've just learned with someone else? Because as you said, like you have a lot of holes that you feel are unfilled.
Yes.
And then I know I'm always like I'm scared to start talking about something I know I don't know everything about, because like I feel like an imposter. I feel like I'm going to look stupid. I feel like people are going to laugh at me if I start
Yes.
saying things.
Yeah, I think for me, well, if I'm talking to an expert about it, yes, I would feel that inadequate, like, but I think it's easier for me in that situation to say, "Look, I don't know much about this. I'm going to say what I think, and then you can teach me because that's like you know more than me." I
Yeah.
think it's worse when it's the other way around, when I'm supposed to, and again, air
Mm,
quotes, to know more than the other person. Because then when I'm talking about it, I'm constantly thinking they are going to take what I'm saying and they're going to run with it. And I know it's incomplete. And that's like the biggest fear for me. It's
mm,
harder for me to be in a situation where I am the expert than it is to be in a situation where I'm the learner.
mm.
Uh, and yes.
But maybe I think what came to me whilst you were speaking there is how we should remind ourselves that um, even when you're the expert, you are just completing someone else's holes and paths,
Yes.
right? Like it's not, you're not filling all of their holes. They need to do that. They need to do that for themselves.
Yeah. And they are responsible for that
They
process.
and they are responsible for that process. Yeah, I like how it's just everything kind of circles back to the experience and not requirements, but just yeah, the way that you lead the reflection sessions. It's principles. I think they are principles of how everything related with learning, it all kind of nicely closes in a circle where everything makes sense.
Yes. Learning is a voluntary process. It's not education. Education is mandatory, learning is voluntary. And so
Yeah,
you only learn if you want to learn.
yeah, and I would you say that you also learn how much you're open to learning? Like, is there a learning tank to say? Like, can you
uh,
like does someone have like a liter tank? Someone has a 5 liter tank.
huh. I think that tank can be more flexible in some people than in others, the
Uh-huh.
meaning that it expands more than in other people.
Mm.
I don't think it's ever limited.
Yeah,
I think you can practice learning and you can practice or reconnect with your curiosity and that will mean that your tank will be more flexible,
well, yeah,
and then sometimes it will contract, and for
yeah.
the certain point of time you're like, I really don't want to learn anything, just let me get on with my life, and then it expands again, and so it's not fixed at all, it depends.
Yeah, I think you're right. I kind of feel the same. Just like reflecting on how my life is going. Sometimes I read like 5 books in a week. Sometimes I don't read a book in 5 months, or
Yeah.
do or any other type of learning. But that's kind of like I have like periods of hyper focus when it comes, like when I'm listening to an audiobook, reading a physical book, reading like listening to 3 podcast episodes per day, and then it's like
Mm.
still for like a month or so because I hyper focused and overdid in that certain period, and then my kind of surge for learning was big, but then my capacity was like at 100%. So it's like, okay, now we're
Yeah.
we're, we're, we're shutting the gates. we are, yeah, like the system is asleep, so no learning for a while now.
Yes, exactly. And it makes sense because learning happens beyond your comfort zone.
Mm,
And so it is normal that it takes, again, a lot of energy coupons,
yeah.
especially when it's something that is hard for you.
Hmm.
And it can be challenging technically, like you don't understand, and that's okay. It can also be challenging emotionally, because again, it's an emotional process.
Yep.
And so it is normal that sometimes you're just not feeling like doing it, and it's okay as well. That's also fine. A lot of people tell me, "Oh, learning day. You mean like we need to learn every day? That sounds exhausting." And I'm like, "You are learning every day. It depends on how much you want to be aware of it." But it's also fine to say, "Today, I don't want to be aware of it. I want to be aware of the things that I already know, and that's fine."
Yep.
And so, yeah. Yeah, we are over time already, and there's a session happening in a little bit that I need to get to.
Of course, yeah. I was just about to thank you for showing up today
Thank you.
with myself and sharing your experience with others, and having such a real and raw and open, honest conversation. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Franca. It's, as I said in the beginning, it's not a burden showing up. And I'm glad we had that conversation and I let go of perfectionism and I joined today.
Thank
Yes.
you. I'm happy you did. Yeah,
Thank
it
you,
was
Franca.
no pressure, but I'm really happy that you did, and I'm happy that um yeah, you showed up and shared everything with us. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
and I'll hopefully see you soon.
Yes. Thank you. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.